Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fiz Ahmed. I am student of BDS first year. So today our topic is the ventricular system of the brain. This is the whole map which explain how the ventricles are located within our brain. I have explained the third ventricle and the fourth ventricle in my previous videos. Now I will explain in detail the lateral ventricles, two lateral ventricles of the brain in detail. So here is the structure of the lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle is basically a C-shaped cavity filled with the cerebrospinal fluid, and it is connected with the third ventricle through the interventricular foramen, and it has total four parts. The first is the anterior horn, then the central part or the body, which extends from the interventricular foramen to the posterior extremity of the thalamus. The third one is the inferior horn, which extends into the temporal lobe, and the fourth is the posterior horn, which extends into the occipital lobe, and this anterior horn extends into the frontal lobe. Now I will explain each individual part one by one. The first one is the anterior horn. Uh, First, I will tell you about the corpus callosum, which is also a C-shaped membrane and is a bundle of the white matter and extend over the midline cavity of the brain and to connect the two cerebral hemispheres of the brain with each other. The roof of the lateral ventricle is mostly formed by the corpus callosum. Now I will start with the anterior horn. The roof of the anterior horn is formed by the genu of the corpus callosum. The genu is the anterior most part of the corpus callosum, and the roof is formed by genu of corpus callosum. The caudate nucleus is present at the inferior side of the lateral ventricle. So the floor of anterior horn is formed by the head of the caudate nucleus, and the septum pellucidum is present between the two lateral ventricles, which separate the two anterior horns of two lateral ventricle with each other, and this septum pellucidum is a double layer membrane. So the medial wall of the anterior horn is formed by the septum pellucidum, and the rostrum of corpus callosum, which is the extension of the corpus callosum and is the thinnest part of the corpus callosum. Now I will explain the body of the corpus callosum, which is the central part of the body of the lateral ventricle, which is the central part of the ventricle, and the roof of the body is formed by the trunk of corpus callosum, the middle part of the corpus callosum, and the medial wall, just like the anterior horn, is formed by the septum pellucidum, and the floor is formed by the caudate nucleus. And as we know that the thalamus is present at the lateral side of the third and the lateral ventricle, so thalamus will form the floor of the body of the lateral ventricle, and the vein known as the thalamostriate vein will pass through the floor of the body of the ventricle. And now let's move toward the posterior horn, which extend into the occipital lobe, and the roof and the lateral wall of the posterior horn is made up of the same structure known as the tapetum of corpus callosum. So basically, tapetum of corpus callosum is formed by the decussating fibers of the splenium of the corpus callosum, and the lateral to the tapetum is the optic radiation. So these two structures contribute in the formation of the roof and lateral wall of the posterior horn, and the medial wall is made up of the two swellings. The superior swelling is made up of the splenium fiber of the corpus callosum and form the fibers of the forceps major, and the inferior swelling is formed by the calcarine sulcus, which is located inferior to the lateral ventricle, and within the calcarine sulcus is the calcar avus. So the medial wall is formed by the superior swelling of fibers of forceps major and inferior swelling of calcar avus, and the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle is extended into the temporal lobe, and the roof of the inferior horn is also formed by the tapetum of the corpus callosum, the splenium fiber of the corpus callosum. And basically the caudate nucleus was present at the floor of anterior horn and the body and the posterior horn, but now in case of inferior horn, the caudate nucleus is present in the floor of the caudate nucleus. And the stria terminalis, which is the sheet of the gray matter which extend across the two inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. The floor of the inferior horn is formed by the hippocampus, which is the structure of gray matter. Hippocampus is covered by the sheet of white matter known as the alveus, and the floor is also formed by the collateral eminence. So between the um, alveus and the stria terminalis is the choroid plexus of the lateral ventricle inferior horn. So here we are done with our the four boundaries of lateral ventricle. Thank you.